Okay, there's a lot to talk about this week. Apple has a visionOS event in Cupertino on building great visionOS apps in a few days. I have some of my own visionOS news to share that I'm excited about. And I have a couple ideas that I've been working on with a friend that relate more to personal life, but I think affect everything actually. This idea of being default offline, and it ties quite well into these other things I've been working on, like this post-scarcity mindset, finding ways to reduce anxiety and bring simplicity into my life, and overall just flow state maximizing. Anyways, these are just some of the topics that we'll talk about today on This Bootstrapped Life, episode 12. Thanks for joining. So let's jump right into the Cupertino event with Apple. That one's pretty cool. This is the first event I'm going to go to that's actually hosted by Apple. It's going to be an all day event from like 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. They're going to have sessions on Reality Kit, Swift UI, and just, yeah, building great apps with on Vision OS, which I'm excited about. My hope here actually is to not only meet people, but also to kind of learn what style event seems to work or potentially not work. Because I think I mentioned in the last episode, after Vision Hack, I feel motivated to host more events in this space in SF. So I'm going to use this event, this Cupertino event, to just like learn a lot more about what kinds of things make sense to center an event on within the Vision OS space overall. Because you can do a number of things. You can do like a show and tell. You can do workshops. You can do more of like just kind of hang out, mixer. So I want to see how this goes. This is different because it's gonna be an all-day thing, but anyways, should be insightful at the very least. Otherwise, on the kind of Skyporch side, I'm kind of riding a high right now. I just pretty much finished this delivery for a client. They even paid a rush delivery fee for me to get this done for tomorrow. And what's nice is that it's not that late as of right now. I mean, it's a little late in the evening, but it's not like 3 a.m. or something like that, which is cool. I'm getting better with my estimates, which is nice. But so on the visionOS side, on my end, what's really cool is that I have a friend in neuroscience and with a background in game design who is going to collaborate with me on visionOS stuff going forward, which is very exciting because like, then we can move faster. And what's cool is that we've already collaborated in the past. We collaborated on Moros Legends, this game I have on the iOS App Store that I made back when I was in college. He contributed to it as well, and he worked on some of the lore and some of the world building elements in that way. And so I think he's going to bring a lot to the table on Vision OS when we build the games there. We've already started to. We had actually done a hackathon together over the summer on Vision OS, and that went quite well. And so I'm excited to see what we can come up with in the space. And he's very keen to get actually more into the coding side of things as well, where previously he was more about kind of just the abstract game design and just and storytelling and world building. So this is going to be really interesting, I think, at least. Otherwise, Skyporch is continuing to move along. I'm going to have actually quite a bit of free time coming up as I've been changing the types of deals that I take on at Skyporch. And so our revenue is going to stay almost the same so far, but I'm putting less of my time towards feature work, which is very exciting. So I have more time freed up to work on our other projects. So that includes Vision OS, for example. Especially because I want to host more events and really do more community building. I think you need to have more time for that, and so that's why I've been more precious about that. Because you can always make more money, but you can't always get more time. So that's Skyporch as of right now. I actually speaking of Morris Legends, I actually pushed out an update to that today. I was in the middle of this client delivery, and there was some stuff that was happening asynchronously because this client thing involved a bunch of web scraping. And so there was some downtime in between those script runs. And so I fired up Xcode and just started writing some Swift, knocked out some good quality of life improvements to Moros. Again, this is like a fun side project that I had since college. I overall hadn't maintained it for years. And then all of a sudden, like a year ago maybe, I started to kind of pick it up a little bit again. I wanted to get back into Swift because I used to be a lead iOS developer actually like 5-6 years ago. But since then, I've kind of gone all in on web full stack, Next.js, all this kind of stuff that is really in vogue. And then now, as I get back into the Apple ecosystem with Vision OS stuff, it's kind of alluring to spend time on even this iOS game again, especially because now you can use Cursor. I found it actually not that hard to use Cursor with Xcode projects. The key is to just have Xcode and Cursor open at the same time. So whenever you get to build, you just go into Xcode, and whenever you actually want to write code, you just go use Cursor. especially now with Cursor Composer and all that kind of stuff. They've really made Cursor a world-class tool for using AI, or for using modern LLMs. Anyways, really great tool and actually works quite well writing Swift these days. So that's been my workflow, and it's been fun to jump back into iOS and visionOS things. Especially now with Vision Hack, I feel more motivated to spend time investing in this space again. So especially if I have this friend come on, I think we're gonna move faster and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So there's that. Otherwise, on the personal side of things, yeah, there's the idea of default offline. And this friend mentioned it last weekend, and immediately like something just clicked, and we both started kind of like laughing because he just knew that I was gonna like brand this, like I was gonna start to like use this term unironically, and that's been the case. I've absolutely been saying that, and the way I think about this term is that you just keep your phone on do not disturb 24 hours a day. Like you don't allow like any notifications to go through. And I was someone that never used that, like other than at night when I went to sleep. In that case, I just used the sleep focus state on iOS. Whereas now I actually just keep my phone always silenced and always not showing notifications on the lock screen. So I don't even get the impulse to like just see what's going on. And honestly, it's made a world of a difference in terms of the way that I feel. It seems subtle, but in actuality, previously when I would send messages or like send things or whatever, like I would then start to get anxious and expect a response by a certain time. In a way that now, because I don't do that anymore, like I don't respond to things immediately anymore. I don't because nothing is really urgent anyway. When I send a message into the universe is the way I think about it. It doesn't matter when they respond, and so overall, I found that with my phone buzzing less and with less anticipation baked into my day from the way I interface with apps, I found myself more relaxed. And I actually, what the best part of this is that it's actually conducive to flow state maximization. And for me, this is really important. I think right now what I'm trying to do is prioritize a schedule and a lifestyle that is allows for me to go into and out of flow states as I see fit and as it makes sense, allowing me to be present in the moment of whatever I'm doing, whether that's writing code, singing a song, and being in a conversation with someone, or even doing this kind of vlog. Like right now, I'm not quite there yet, but often like when I'm vlogging or like doing this kind of thing, I lose track of time. I actually don't know how long it's been since I started hitting the record button, and that's kind of cool. It reminds me of this workshop I went to on time, where it's this experience, the qualitative experience of time, Kairos, and that's kind of what this is right now, where I'm in this flow state and I'm just riffing, I'm just enjoying, I'm just present. I'm not thinking about like the routine or time or whatever. Versus Chronos, which is the quantitative experience of time, and that's more of like the routine. That's more of the at 8 p.m. you have to do this, 9 p.m. you do this. Like that's a very different experience of time. That's actually quite easy to slip into by default. So I'm trying to do more things that allow me to expand time, kind of like when you're a kid, where if things seem to move more slowly, even though you're actually experiencing a lot and it feels like it's moving faster than it actually is. So by having my phone essentially offline all the time, now it's easier for me to just unplug and say, okay, I'm going to just like write code for the next hour, 2 hours, whatever, and just uninterrupted focus. Or yeah, if it's in the evening, I can just enjoy my hobbies and not think about any messages coming in, whether it's work or otherwise. There's always the risk that I receive something that's like maybe somewhat important while it's on Do Not Disturb. But overall, I've at least found it's been at least a week so far, and I have not found that I've missed any like truly important or urgent messages. Because I still like maybe every couple hours I'll actually go through and check like open up certain apps like messages and be like, oh, have I received any messages? And then I can just kind of batch go through them at once when I'm like mentally prepared to jump in, as opposed to giving people the ability to just ping you. Because the reality is, what I found was that my phone was using me. It wasn't me using my phone. Whereas now I've flipped the table, I've turned the tables, and now it's me using my phone again. It's more of like a one-way communication. It's no longer my phone being able to just like ping me. It's me going to my phone and saying, "Hey phone, what do you have that's new for me?" And so it feels like I've changed, like things are, my relationship to technology is changing, which I think is a good thing in this way. I'm trying to be more mindful and intentional with the way I use it. And so what's cool is that even in the morning now, because it's just default, it shows nothing on the lock screen. I don't even think to like when I open my phone, I don't think to like look at my notifications. I just like look at the time and I just like kind of put it away. I don't look at it first like hour, 2 hours of the day until I'm like out of the house or whatever and going about things. So yeah, this has been a I think having like a term to use for this has been powerful. I actually quite like branding these experiences like again post scarcity mindset. That's something that I felt it's kind of a cheesy name, and I've gotten made fun of a little bit for it, but I don't really mind. I think it's helpful, at least for me, to be able to describe this overarching idea in this collection of other smaller thoughts. And I think it's so applicable to all parts of your life, business, relationships, whatever it is. This idea that like you don't have to be motivated by fear or a lacking. You can instead just be motivated by like excitement, like genuine, like you want to experience things and do things no matter what happens, And so that's kind of what I found to be a positive shift. Because before, for example, and I can give you a number of examples, I might have been motivated by fear, like, oh, I'm gonna stay in this maybe client arrangement that's not what I would like it to be, but it's like just good enough. And so then you stay in that kind of engagement because you think there aren't going to be better engagements. But the reality is that you kind of have to open up more of your space in order to have the space for something better to come in. And whether it's, in this case, clients or even in relationships, you might stay in a relationship that's not like quite the right thing. Like something tells you it's not quite right, but you stay in because you're afraid of being alone. So I've and actually when I had moved to SF initially, I actually went on dating apps and I initially was motivated in that sense, in that way out of fear. I was like, oh, am I still dateable? Am I, like where do I stand? Like, how does this? Yeah, I don't even know what this looks like at this point. So I was motivated by a sense of not knowing my worth and being afraid of what it might have been. And so I'm just trying to change that script in my head towards one of like, oh, I'm just I'm just living, working, being in a way that is authentic to me, and whatever happens, happens, And like, there's so many. The reality is, things are really disastrous. Kind of like with notifications, they're like really emergencies. In like these sort of situations, like they're really disasters where it's like there's no other alternative. For example, like in the client example, if you drop a client that's like not quite good enough or not quite good for you, and you actually don't find like a better arrangement, let's say in however many months, weeks, months, or even years, the reality is there are always other options on the table. I'm sure you could always get that same or similar arrangement again. Surely on this big planet, that's not the only client that's willing to pay you X amount of money for Y work. Um, and there are always tons of jobs. There are always solutions and backstops to these different situations, and so being mindful of that, I think, is useful. What helped me this week, actually, in those same lines, I created models around my runway in different circumstances, and that helped me really visualize where some of my anxiety came from, because I kept looking or thinking about the number where I assume like zero revenue and everything else is the same, expenses, payroll, whatever. And then of course that's gonna have the lowest runway versus the rest of the numbers where you like assume like average revenue or even below average revenue, and some other factors. Like you realize like, oh wait, actually it's like significantly more secure than I thought. And the reality is, even in that worst case model, there's so much time in between now and that point to make like real changes for it to not, like the odds of staying at like zero revenue for like a year on end, probably pretty low, especially if I haven't had a zero revenue month so far, and pretty far from that at least. So it's what I'm finding is that some of us are more likely to be preoccupied, and it's helpful to instead, when you are preoccupied, get those fears on paper, because when you get them on paper, they are really as scary as they seem in your head. And this is true again of relationships and business, and just, I don't know, everything really. So these have been powerful tools to kind of bring calmness, simplicity to my life. I think it's been amazing to have my notifications silenced and to be able to just say, like, you know what, I'm going to pick up my phone and intentionally decide, just go through my notifications, because I'm meant to be prepared for it. And it's just a different mindset as opposed to like when you're in the middle of something and then you get a ping and you're like, oh, I have to respond to this now. Or you just get anxiety around it. And then you just like, that you had that message from that person, but then you don't respond anyways because you just you don't feel like it in the moment. And then they pile on and then you start to feel more anxious again because there's like a whole pile, the 100 notifications that are sitting waiting for you after you finish your current task. So I'm just feeling excited by this change because I've been able to get a lot of deep work done this week. And I think this is a sustainable system because going into last weekend, I was feeling very anxious. I just canceled all my social engagements. I carved out the entire weekend to say, you know what, I'm going to reinvent my systems. Not like reinvent entirely, but just reassess what's working, what's not. My to-do list was massive. My notifications were endless, and I just needed to like go through. And I had like 500 tabs open in Safari. So I don't know if I'm sure I'm not the only one, but on Safari on iOS especially, it's easy to just like keep like opening tabs and it's like not like go through the previous ones and close them. And so then I was living with 500 tabs, and whenever I needed a new tab, I had to like go and close one out, like, and like figure out, like, sort it out in the moment, like, oh, is this one worth keeping? Silliest thing ever. I basically just declared bankruptcy when it came to like a lot of these like random tasks that I had on my giant to-do list and this like Safari tab situation. And honestly, I don't even notice like what I'm missing. So for the best. I think some of us have a tendency to be like hoarders, digitally. Like it's funny because I'm not a hoarder in real life. I'm actually pretty minimalistic. I don't have many things. I have maybe like 3 suitcases worth of things, but digitally, I think I am a hoarder. I have lots of files. I have lots of open tabs, or I had lots of open tabs. But now, I with my new system, every night when I go to before I finish working, my computer, I go through all my open windows. And I just close them all. Doesn't matter what I have open. I just close them. And if I like need those tabs for whatever reason, I just put it into a Safari profile and then just like let it be. And that's like made things a lot calmer because before I just wouldn't process things from that day and I'd like always just close it and pick it back open. I would never shut it down, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think now I've got a system that works for me. And yeah, I'm clearly excited about it. It's just so funny because it's such a little thing, it seems, but I think it makes a big difference. I think otherwise, a lot of us fall into these loops around our technology using us, getting pings from all these different applications, from people, and the reality is a lot of it is just not that important, So yeah, otherwise, I think that's all for this week, this episode. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now.